All right, we are back in the writer's cave for another Get Them Words In writer's vlog. I think that's what we're going to call it. I don't know. Anyway, since losing my job, I have had a chance to reset up my office downstairs. It had kind of become like just a storage heap. It's in the basement. We'll give you a quick tour, but you can see my books back there and old icons from a project I did a while ago called Online as It Is in Heaven. You can check that book out too. I'm sure you can Google it and find it, along with my OG analog Scrivener. If you get that joke, we can be friends. Because yeah, I don't do Scrivener. I'm way too old to do Scrivener. That's a cool kid's tool for writing. I am more of a note card and pinboard type guy, though I do use Trello. Anyway, tangents. I wanted to do today's video on making sure you have a writer's space. Some writers, and I don't want to discount this because it is a realistic and natural part of the writing process for some people, is they have to be around people. And so these are the people who write books in coffee shops or in libraries or in parks, or hotel lobbies, that kind of stuff. They need to be in kind of like a moving space for their creative juices to start flowing, stuff like that. But for most of us, it means punking yourself down in front of a typewriter or a computer or a pad with a pen and getting yourself away from everyone. Now, this is a nice little writer's cave that I have down in my basement. It's in the corner of my house. It's tucked away so that it's separate from everything else, so the kids don't get into it, so that they don't bother me when I'm writing. They're more than welcome to come visit anytime I'm writing, and they know that. But it does kind of like get me so that I have a place that I have to go to work, and work is downstairs all the way in the corner, where I have my writer space. And yeah, it's very important to have that kind of space. Stephen King talks about this in his book on writing, which I highly suggest you write. I have both copies. My favorite is definitely the paperback, just because it's got a picture of his writing space. And if you look at kind of the proportions there, even with his dog in the bottom, which is just adorable and stuff, it's set in the eaves of a house, so like underneath the slanted part of your roof and that kind of stuff. And King talks about this. He talks about how at one point they bought this huge Gothic house, because he writes horror, of course, in Maine. And they bought this huge house, and he had this huge upstairs living room, and he put this massive oak desk or mahogany desk or something like that in the middle. And then, and he would just bang out words on there. And what it turned into is this kind of ego trap, where it became this place where he would go and he would drink, where he doesn't even remember two of the books he wrote. And he talks about this in the memoir, which is why you have to read this book. He talks about not even remembering those books. And I can't even fathom not remembering books. And apparently they did well. They weren't horrible failures of books. He wrote two books that also sold a bunch of copies that he doesn't even remember because he was just out of his face. Because he had this big office and a big desk for his typewriter and his big ego. And he just got obsessed kind of with the idea of being famous and being a writer, and that's a trap that anyone who knows they have to write alone, where they're not the coffee shop or park bench type person when they go to write, that's a trap for us, because we can come down here and this is our own little kingdom where we're in charge of everything, and you can just kind of self-immolate yourself with the hopes and ideas and the ego of being a writer and stuff like that. And King puts it best. I'm probably gonna butcher this. I should have found the quote, but I don't have it. But art, life is not. I think it's life is not a life support system for art. It's the other way around, and that's why he moves his desk into the eaves of that room, off to the corner, and he actually put in couches and a big TV so that he could be within proximity of his family while he was writing. While he was doing the thing that he needed to do for his writing, that he attached that to healthy things in his life. And so you need a writing space like that. You need a writing space that does it. So my writing space, which you don't see on the other side of this wall, is a couch and a TV where my kids play video games. They're always down here. They're always making a big kerfuffle. I love it. I absolutely love it, because my kids come down. My daughter especially bugs me all the time, and it would seem from an outsider's perspective that she's being annoying, and she's not. This writing space, I need it because it's where I go first thing in the morning. I come down at 5 o'clock in the morning. I try and get my 2 crappy pages in a day. I try to get my word counts done. But when I'm just writing throughout the day or in the afternoon, all that kind of stuff, what you don't see, and this is kind of like a telling sign, you'll see it here. This is the furnace room, and then like the living room entrance there, all the lights are off, so you can't really see it. But there's no door. There's no door to keep the world out. That's because this my art making process where I write, that is life support for real life. It is what makes real life worth it, and so it has to be attached to it, not the other way around. You can't separate yourself. So when you're building your writing space, don't make an office with a lock that's soundproof that you can't get, that you can just like lock out all the kids and stuff like that. I've seen that from authors, and it's almost concerning where they set up the office in a separate outbuilding on their like big property and stuff like that so that they can keep people away. That I don't think is healthy. I think you need people in your life. You need that space for sure where you can write and where the process of your writing doesn't get disturbed. But I do think that it is something that life has to be able to interact with, that it's not something that, should be entirely separate. It should be a separate space for sure. You shouldn't be writing on the dining room table and having all the stuff that you need to be able to write on the dining room table and then interrupt, life with your writing. Instead, life should interrupt your writing. So you should be furiously pounding away at the keyboard and then get interrupted by the smell of pizza cooking upstairs, that kind of stuff. So I highly encourage you to pick up Stephen King's On Writing, the paperback, so that you can have this image kind of around you. I'd love to get a big print of this. I don't know if it's possible, but I'd love to get a big print of that because that is one of the most prolific writers that has ever, entered the market, Stephen King. And whatever you think about the guy, he's definitely talented. And I think he figured it out. I think he figured it out that you need to have life and art intermingle to make it worth it, or else you just end up in a spot that's destructive, especially self-destructive and stuff like that. So I highly recommend this book. Definitely go out and read it, On Writing by Stephen King. And I highly recommend that you create yourself a writing space, just like I did here. I mean, it's my little writer's cave. It's kind of moody and dark and great for coming down first thing in the morning to kind of like start my day just getting those words in. And so that's what I'm going to encourage you to do. Go get them words in.